welcome to my channel. This is my second episode of what I'm gonna call a visual podcast. Very necessary. It's where I discuss things that happen in pop culture and politics that are interesting to me. It is only my second episode because a lot of things are happening. I don't think 2021 is as wild as 2020, but there's definitely been a lot going on, and I just felt like I couldn't really keep up and upload episodes as frequently as I might have wanted. But I wanted to make sure and get out at least one video this week. And so I was like, you should do another episode of Very Necessary. So here we are. Okay, the first thing I'd like to talk about that interested me this week was Rihanna being named a billionaire. I love this for her. I really do. As an elder millennial who can remember a time when music did not exist with a Rihanna, when nobody knew who that was, I love the fact that she's been able to grow and expand her brand over time. As somebody who has catastrophically oily skin and at one point could not find a good enough makeup solution to guide her and through the day, Fenty makeup brand and the Fenty foundation that she came out with, which was like her first release, was honestly a godsend to me. And I know that a lot of people think that it's just way too drying and she should have come out with a different formula, the hydrating formula she came out with. But I cannot wear hydrating makeup, and I don't know what kind of skin Rihanna actually has, but well, the foundation, it seemed like she got skin like me and like she could understand. And I remember when the foundation first came out, me and one of my friends, we have similar skin, we tried it out and we were like, okay, let's see how long it stays on our face. And so we went about our regular day, nothing too strenuous, going to work and coming back home, and we both counted it like 15 hours. And so I remember being just overwhelmed at what a good deal this was and what a good product it was. And since then, I have gotten the bronzer, cream contour sticks, powder foundation, the eyebrow pencil, pressed foundation. I have the pressed powder that you can like put on your face. I have the concealer. I have a lot of the Fenty. Most of the makeup that I wear is Fenty. And I'm just grateful that she had her finger on the pulse of what people were looking for. Also the price point, like you could not beat that, because there's other brands that I like, but her makeup is very price conscious. It's not quite supermarket, but it's not, like luxury makeup. So I really liked that. I even got into the Savage Fenty, the lingerie thing, even though I ain't got nobody to wear lingerie for. I got into this like self-care mode during the holidays of 2020, and I was like, I'm gonna order me some lingerie. And I ordered everything from like really performative pieces where, like you would wear them if you had a bae. I also ordered things that were just good to wear underneath your outfits, like cute little undergarments that I could throw on underneath a sundress or underneath like a pants, a romper. And so yeah, I really liked those products as well. The only thing I didn't get into was Fenty Skin, and that's because I think with Fenty Skin, she just sort of made a skincare product that literally anybody could use. There's a content creator, her name is Lala Milan. She's been around for a while, since like Vine days. She's made a career out of creating all kinds of content, and she and I have had similar skin issues. So when she did a Fenty Skin review and basically said, this is not a product for people who have actually suffered with acne, I was like, okay, I trust her. And that's how I feel about a lot of celebrity skin brands, because I don't think that a lot of celebrities, just because of the nature of the business, I don't think a lot of celebrities really deal with tough skin issues. Like Kylie skin, what does she deal with? I don't. Now, if Keke Palmer, who I don't know if you know this, I don't know who's watching and what you're familiar with, but Keke Palmer, she's come out and she said, hey, I have PCOS, so I deal with cystic acne. If Keke Palmer came out with a skincare brand, I'm on board for that, because she knows, especially being a darker skinned woman, hyperpigmentation, like the scarring that can be left. I mean, if that was a celebrity that was like, I'm gonna go into this and figure this out and get a product on the market for women who are dealing with skin like mine, I would be like, all right, yes. And so, Keke, you already have my coins. You already have them. So yeah, I didn't get into Fenty Skin, but everything else I was like, yay, Rihanna. And even if I didn't get into it, just nobody can ignore the fact that this is a person who has evolved. Like, she went from somebody who you didn't really know how to place her. Like, was she a great vocalist? She's a good performer, very good performer, had great songs, good songs. But a great vocalist? Not really. And then of course she had a lot of tragedies in her personal life, whether you count what happened, with her father when she was growing up, coming from an environment where she had to see domestic abuse, to what she dealt with in 2009 with her own domestic abuse situation. This is a person who has just evolved so much over time, and I love to see it. I hope that Forbes does right by her and she gets a magazine cover. I'm sure we all remember when Kylie Jenner was named the youngest self-made billionaire, and she got her little magazine cover. And of course, I think they ended up taking her title back, because to refer to Kylie Jenner as self-made is just preposterous. But and also, I don't think when like all the figures were added up, something of that nature, like she actually wasn't a billionaire. Whatever it is, I hope Rihanna gets her day, and I hope instead of just announcing it, like she gets a magazine coverage, because she deserves it. Because what she has accomplished and just being able to expand her brand is amazing. I mentioned Kylie a lot, so I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about her just right out. She had her 24th birthday this past week, and I, like a lot of people, or maybe it's just me, every time she has a birthday and she's not like 45, I'm always extremely surprised, just because of, not only because of how much she's done, but because of how she looks. And so I'm always just like, whoa, she's only 24. But yeah, she had her 24th birthday, and she posted about it and talked about it online. Something that was interesting though, and this is why I'm bringing her up here, her fans and the people that follow her are eagle-eyed, looking for signs that she is actually expecting her second child. We know Kylie likes to keep things private, and she kept her whole pregnancy with Stormi private. And what people are thinking is that she's employing some of the same tactics. So like, she did her 24th birthday photo shoot 6 months ago. She made sure during the party to post, her hands or maybe like the top part of her body, but not necessarily like full body shots, nothing like videos where she's walking around, none of that. And also I think she had a very low key party where it was just like a brunch. So people are saying, oh, okay, well she's pregnant with the second baby. I don't know. All I can say is that she is a pro at keeping what she wants to keep out of the news to herself. I mean, nobody can, that's what she should be on Forbes magazine for, keeping secrets, because she's excellent at that. And I have a theory of why that is. She has a Scorpio moon. Like the next subject of my little show here, which is Beyonce. No, I cannot even get through one video without talking about her. But Beyonce was on the cover of Harper's Bazaar this week, and she spoke about a couple of things that I thought were very interesting. The first thing was that she realized that she had been too hard on her body. And I actually have a video coming out next week where I talk about, Beyonce is a millennial. She was born in 1980, so she's the most elder of elder millennials. But where I talk about how millennial women and the way we view our curves was so impacted by the extreme and toxic diet culture of media and movies when we were growing up. I mean, if you were a woman who grew up in that time and you can say you never experienced any kind of body dysmorphia and you had a curvier body, then you go, girl. Because honestly, I cannot say that. I definitely went through some of that, and that's for another video. But Beyonce, I can always remember that she was always very big about talking about her diet. Like I can remember for Dreamgirls, she was like, I'm gonna lose all of this weight, this is the movie of my life and the time of my life. She was very into talking about all of the weight that she was losing for Dreamgirls. And of course, whenever she dropped Beyonce on us in 2013 with no warning, in the middle of the night, still one of the greatest days of my life. The album had been out for a little while, and people had been like, oh my God, this is great. What a wonderful thing she did. And then she started teasing a big announcement on Instagram. And so I remember people being like, oh, well, are we gonna get another album? An album that just remixes? What's gonna happen? And she was like, here's my 45-day vegan diet. Here are my vegan cupcakes. Like she's very, very into diet, wellness, diet. For her to come out and say, I was dieting too much, I was being too hard on my body, I was like, oof, that's big. Because I think she did kind of walk that line from being just wanting to be really well and healthy and kind of obsessing about it. I will also say, and this is why I brought up the Scorpio Moon thing, she talked about how she has come off in the media and how some people say she's closed off and she's hard to read and she just keeps too much to herself, and they may even interpret her as being like fake. And she said, I keep things to myself because it isn't people's business. I have a life that I want to protect. And then she said, If I'm private, that's because my Virgo ass doesn't want you to know about my life. And I was like, because here's the thing. Virgo is a mutable sign, which means communication flows easily. Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces. We love to talk. We will talk. Talk, 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 talk. A great example of a Virgo who talks is Whitney Cummings, who was actually born on the same day as Beyonce 2 years later. Whitney Cummings is a stand-up comedian and actress. She has a podcast. And the information that she lets out into the world and the way that she exposes herself consistently all the time lets you into her house, into her bed. I watched so many of her Instagram stories last year where something had bit her on the face. She had stitches. She had broken a finger. I was like, does somebody need to go in and intervene? Because she continues to keep hurting herself. That's how much I knew about her personal life, and I've never met this woman. But Whitney Cummings does have a lot of Leo placements, and so that definitely shows up in how she likes to present herself. Like, I'm talking, I'm the one, I'm on the stage. And while Beyonce also shares some of that, your moon sign is your sign of like emotional intimacy and how you like to protect your domestic life. And Scorpio moons, let me tell you something, they're going to keep whatever secrets they're going to keep them. And both Kylie and Beyonce have that in common. I think it would be interesting if she sat down with an astrologer and actually went through her chart and had it explained, because, I want her to, because I think a lot of the things she says about her sun sign are wrong. Oh, but she's right when she talks about the work ethic, because Virgos work incredibly hard. But so I thought when I saw her say that, I was like, oh, here she goes again. Okay, speaking of celebrities and their diets and what they eat, I gotta talk about Saweetie. So this week she came out with in the past couple weeks, she's come out with her McMeal, her new meal at McDonald's. You know, they've been doing these recently, these like celebrity launches. I think Travis Scott had one, Bad Bunny had one. And so Saweetie came out with one. And I think that the internet's reaction to her meal was interesting because of the fact that she's been so open about how crazy her regular diet is. Like, she's all about the concoctions. One of her videos, her spaghetti video, went viral. It was either earlier this year or it was last year. Basically, she brought out this spaghetti and she like covered it in ranch before she could eat it. I think she's also talks about how she puts hot Cheetos in her ramen. Like, Saweetie is very open with the fact that she is super concoctive when it comes to her meals. And so when she released her meal with McDonald's, it's a Big Mac with chicken nuggets, sweet and sour sauce, and like a Sprite. But what they're encouraging people to do is to remix it. So like, you can take your Big Mac and you can remove the top bun and cover it with French fries. You can take 2 buns, cover them in sauce, and put chicken nuggets in the middle. They're basically encouraging this kind of creative and concoctive eating. And one of the issues people have with this is Saweetie's able to get away with sort of broadcasting how, I'm just gonna say it, not very health conscious her diet is, because she's winning when it comes to the politics of desirability. So she has the right body, she has the right face. Society seems to not have an issue with what people are eating as long as it doesn't show on their body, right? I've been watching a lot of 1990s comedies, specifically The Nanny. And the way that Fran is treated versus her mom on the show, like, Fran's always talking about how she's going to eat a big bucket of chicken, she's going to eat all this candy, she's going to eat all this cake, but then she'll run out in like this skimpy dress and she'll, so her diet is never a joke on the show. It's just like, oh, she's just eating, because that's what women do. But her mom, on the other hand, oh my God, like, The Nanny had a big fat shaming problem, and there's enough articles of it. I'll link one below, but oh my God, like, they really, really made a joke of her mother's size and her diet at the same time. At one point, the joke was that her mom came in from off the street because she could smell something cooking in the kitchen or something. They basically made her mom into this big joke, even though the mom and Fran ate the same things on the show. And I think that's how it works in life, right? Like, as long as your body doesn't look like you eat badly, you can get away with whatever. But the second you start to show it, oh no, your diet, and oh, I can't believe that you're... A great example of this is Lizzo. Lizzo is very open about like her diet choices and the fact that she like is a vegan and she cooks this and that, but she gets so much hate because, of course, she's not in the right body. So a lot of people had issues with the fact that Saweetie is able to get away with things that other women in other bodies can't get away with. And of course, that issue is multifaceted. I've talked about it before, but that's not the problem that I have. The problem that I have with it is the fact that I have the digestive system of a senior citizen, I looked at that spaghetti and that ranch that she made, and I said, if I ate that, I think my intestines would call the police on me. They would be like, are you trying to smother yourself to death with farts? What's going on? Maybe that's TMI. So when I look at Saweetie's diet, the first thing I think of is, it must be nice to have a stomach of steel, because I could never. All right, why don't we stay on the subject of celebs and their bodies, and specifically how they don't like to wash their bodies. So that was a big issue of this week. So actually 2 weeks ago, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, they were like, oh, we don't wash our kids. We don't wash them every day. We wait to see dirt on them and then we wash them. Mila was like, I was never that mom that washed her newborns. And they were very proudly stating this out loud. And then I think, okay, so I love Kristen Bell's work. I love The Good Place. She's a beautiful voice. Like if you've seen Frozen, the character of Anna, that's her. She's so funny. She is an oversharer, and that's from an oversharer. I'm an oversharer myself. But I feel like every week her and her husband are in the news and they are saying, we hate each other so much we almost blacked out fighting, but we'll never divorce. Like it's very, very intense. It's very specific. And again, I feel like it can be extremely therapeutic to share your story and to share your truth. But there's also an oversaturation sometimes. And so if I was her and him, I might have sat this one out. But no, they waded into this as well. And they were like, yeah, we don't wash our kids either. We wait for the stink. We wait for the stink. We wait, we don't shower every day. And Kristen came out and she tried to defend it. She was like, California's in a drought. We always have resource issues. So it's your job to do your part and to ration when you shower. Yeah, I think maybe just don't take really long showers. My thing is sometimes the stink is not the whole of what could be going on with your hygiene, right? Like there could be things happening where sort of the stink is like your body waving the white flag. Are you gonna give me a bar of soap, or what are we gonna do? And also, they weren't the only ones. I think Jake Gyllenhaal came out as well and said he doesn't really bathe, which I think for a lot of women who grew up sort of pining over him, I was one of them. That was tough to hear. But I do want to note that if you don't believe in white privilege, you need to examine this issue, because I cannot imagine a Black celebrity or a celebrity of color coming out and saying, I don't wash, and them not getting just pummeled. Or even believing, see, here's the thing, even believing that they had the gall, like they would have the space to say that. There is something so true, and I know this is something a lot of Black kids hear growing up, the age-old adage of, you have to be smarter, you have to be stronger, you have to be better.
Did I not raise you for better? How many times have I told you you have to be what? You have to be what?
Twice.
What?
Twice as good.
Twice as good as them to get half of what they have.
Like you can't appear weak, even though other people might be able to appear that, because they're already holding you against so much. And that's the first thing I thought of when I saw this. I was like, a Black person could never admit a person of color could never admit, I don't bathe, no, and I send my kids out in the world funky. But if I don't smell it, I don't bathe them. So, and I thought it was interesting too, the celebrities that came forward and said they do bathe, Jason Momoa, The Rock, both of them could be classified as celebrities of color. Wait, I bathe. I just thought that was so interesting, like the difference in how people feel comfortable representing themselves. And I do think that it can correlate back to a sense of privilege. Like you feel that you can be this open, and openness is not on trial here. It's just something that I noticed, like, whoa, that sense of I can be that open with my personal hygiene. Like I know that is something, especially Black women, like, whoa, we could never. We can't even go out, according to Monique, we can't even go out in a bonnet, but that's a whole nother thing. So that's what stuck out to me about that. And yeah, it was the wildest thing. Yeah, I was very grateful when I heard that, I was very grateful that I had the parents that I did have. To this day, my dad will still, if he sees me with like no socks on my feet, he'll be like, I just know your feet stink. To this day, my parents are still like, what are you doing? I feel like that something's wrong here. If they catch me slipping, they still let me know. So I was very grateful for the parents I did have when I heard those stories. I am gonna move into a little bit of politics here as I wind this down. So if you're not interested in politics, or if that's not your bag, then you maybe want to stop watching. The first politic issue that I want to bring up is that the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, he finally resigned from his position. And for anybody that self-identified as a Cuomo-sexual within the last year, his downfall this year has been nothing sort of like, it's been something out of like a Greek tragedy. How does he go from being at the point where he's going to release a book about how much he did for the city of New York during New York's darkest hour to, I have to leave because I can't keep my lips off of my coworkers? It's definitely a steep decline, especially like for me. He was somebody that last year, and I didn't even know really anything about the guy until what was going on with Corona, and he was on the news every day with his PowerPoints. Like, I didn't even really know a lot about him. But seeing the way that he was supposedly leading the city and looking at his speeches that he was giving, I was really, I thought he was great. I was like, is there a way for him to run for president? Like, I was referring to him as my president for a little while. I totally bought into everything that he was putting out there. So for me, it was upsetting to see that that's what had happened to him. It was upsetting to see that that's what he was doing behind closed doors. And it was upsetting to see that that he had a whole network of people who were helping him be able to sell this image to the public. I will say that Alec Baldwin put out a tweet about it, and I'm going to put it up here on the screen. And a lot of people saw this tweet and they were like, you're excusing his actions. And I don't think that that's what the tweet was doing. I think that Alec Baldwin was probably a Cuomo-sexual, and he bought into the hype. And I think what he's doing there is he's noting that a lot of people that go into politics are extremely flawed, and the systems that keep politicians running, the infrastructure of political communities, the social systems that underlie them, they keep completely flawed individuals in powerful positions for a really long time. And I think that he also, as somebody who has recently experienced a grand canceling with his wife, coming out and admitting that she actually is not Spanish at all. She's just a white woman who enjoys speaking in a Spanish accent, which that's a whole, I think he is very familiar with canceling. And so I think he was right on the money saying that he won't be the last politician that this happens to. I do, though, for Alec Baldwin, suggest being quiet, because there is a moment in time where you sort of lose, and he's never going to, but I just feel like there's a moment in time where you have to have discernment about what you're going to speak on. And I think like Alec Baldwin and Chrissy Teigen, I don't think they can talk about cancel culture, because I think people feel like they're very good at canceling others, but they were very offended when they themselves were canceled. And I think that's their issue with Alec. Like, oh, okay, you can defend him, but when you were being canceled, you had nothing to say but nice things. Or when your wife was being canceled, you had nothing to say but nice things. She'd done nothing wrong, but you want to find you want to dig into what he did. Oh, okay. And the fact that they didn't feel that Andrew Cuomo really deserved that grace. And so, yeah, I thought that issue was interesting and somewhat sad and tragic, because also New York doesn't really need any more interruptions. Like, I don't feel like any of I feel like it hurts recovery to have to lose a governor. But he had to go, and so I think it was definitely an interesting thing that happened this past week. All right, next up, and speaking of governors, I think it's fair to say that the governors of Texas and Florida are sort of in a race right now for just the most apathetic public figures that they can possibly be. Like, maybe they're trying to win a pageant. I don't know. But I can tell you this, as someone who is sad, I am sad that I'm not going back to the classroom. Like, I'm sad I won't be there. I'm also very, very happy that I don't have to deal with the way that classrooms are being mandated, as far as like what people can do to try and ensure the safety of the children in the classroom and the safety of the teaching professionals. I know that in Texas, they cut the funding that they might have been giving to have virtual schools. A lot of campuses that were going to try and continue to have a virtual option for parents, they said, nope, you can't have that. And then I know that in both Texas and Florida, because the governors don't want the school districts to be able to tell the children to wear masks, they're threatening to take away funding from the people that work in the districts. And I know that they both have political ambitions in areas of politics where people really, really prize personal freedom and people not telling you what to do and don't get in my space. I get that. But this is something that I feel should go outside of that. And what I also think is interesting is they're okay with not stepping on personal freedoms when it's personal freedoms that they endorse. But if it's a personal freedom that they don't endorse, they're not okay with it. I'm scared. I'm sad for the teachers and for the students that are going back in these conditions. And I've been listening to the conversations happening on social media, and it's sad to me. And I wish it wasn't like this. I wish that both of those governors were like the Arkansas governor who said, you know what, I was politicizing this thing, and certain places you should have to wear a mask. Absolutely. And I think that he really has the right idea. In my video about why I quit teaching, I talked about how teaching is not a profession in and of itself. And this is what I'm talking about. The fact that if you work in a private company, and they're seeing these numbers go back up, they can say, okay, well, for the good of our employees, we're going to have you guys continue to work remote. But teachers are, and I don't think they think of themselves this way. Like, I know I didn't. Teachers are essential workers. And so your own health can't be a priority to you. And your own emotional health can be, like, everything has to do with what the community needs, what the kids need, what the governor needs. Everything is based on elements outside of you. And I think that is something that is so overwhelming, especially at the price point. I have to go back to money, especially at what teachers are paid. So that's what I meant by that. And when I see something like this happening, schools not being allowed to have mask mandates, not being allowed to do virtual learning because the governors have a political agenda that's clearly political. Because we see a governor who was previously like, no, and then saw what was happening and was like, all right, yeah, go ahead and put on a mask. So they are clearly still on like a political agenda over trying to protect people. I see that and it's sad to me. And I think the numbers, the vacancies, the teaching vacancies that exist right now, I think the biggest district in Houston, HISD, has 600 vacancies for the fall. That's a lot. So I think teachers are having to make decisions about, hey, I did not know going into this that I was an essential worker. I'm not paid enough to be an essential worker. And so I'm not going to put myself at risk again like I did last year. And I think that those teachers who are still going forward, like, I wish that they would get from the state, like, if you don't want to do mask mandates, can people get a bonus, a stimulus on their check? Like, you have hazard pay for doing this, because it's you really are stepping in on the front line to serve the community, to serve the children of the community, to serve the parents of the community, because that's the big deal, right? If teachers don't teach in person, the parents can't go to work. The economy fails. So I feel like teachers should get hazard pay, but that's probably not going to happen. And the whole issue just really, it depresses me. All right, to wrap this episode up, and of course I once again have gone way over my 20 minutes, but it's fine. To wrap this episode up, I want to end on a happy note, and that note is sorority girl TikTok. This week, Alabama RushTok is like a huge TikTok trend, and basically University of Alabama, Roll Tide, they are doing, the girls are pledging their sororities, and so they were showing their outfits of the day and so on and so forth, and TikTok as a whole got enraptured in hashtag Alabama RushTok. And some of the girls became like mini celebrities in their own right. For example, I loved this TikTok that was like choose your character and had all of the different girls and what they were wearing and what their names were, like they were characters on a show. I love this because I love traditions. Like, I'm such a traditional toot. That's one of the reasons why I had such an issue with trying to pursue a creative career, because a big part of me when I was younger, I just craved, like, I want a house, 2-car garage, and a job that makes sense, and I want, things to just, like, when I was in my 20s, one of my favorite things to do was I was going to this non-denominational church. By the way, non-denominational church satire TikTok is also hilarious. And if you've ever been to like a non-denominational church, like, you get it. I suggest looking it up. I used to just sit and read the mommy blogs of all of the women who were at the church and who were married to like the pastors and the youth leaders, and I would just read their blogs, and I would just like lose myself in this alternate reality of live, laugh, love, and everything making sense, and us taking our kids to ride horses on the weekend. Is a lot of escapism for me, which is why I think a lot of people are so into this, because I mean the reality is, you know, you've got classes that are now getting canceled again and getting taken back virtual. I think UT San Antonio was like, yo, the Delta variant, she's acting up out here. So for the first 3 weeks, we're going back to virtual. You've got people that are heading back into an unknown environment. Like, we were so close to precedented times, and now it looks like we're heading away from that. And so in this one little area of the world, at the University of Alabama, these little girls are rushing sororities like it's 2010. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing in its simplicity. And yeah, it can also be a little bit scary, because these are people that probably don't live very diverse lifestyles and probably come from a little bit of racism. But at the same time, it's good, clean fun. I will say though that some people have been getting pushback for mocking them. So like, this is one of I saw this TikTok and I laughed until I cried. I thought it was so cute.
Rush, day 5, OOTD.
Rush, day 5, OOTD.
My earrings came from Alley Lens. My necklace is Michael Kors.
My earrings came from Alley Lens. My necklace is Michael Kors.
This is my Get a Rush pen. My shoes are Steve Madden.
This is my Gator Rush pen. My shoes are Steve Madden.
So he got pushed back for mocking these girls. And like in his comments, people were like, this is bullying. And to that I say, I actually took a class in college called Performance in Everyday Life. And it was all about how as people, we choose what identities we want to send out into the world and we perform them. All of our behavior is based on choices that we make, and that those choices can depend on our experiences. They can depend on, our feelings. They can depend on a lot of different things, but they're all choices and they add up to us performing a role in everyday life. And one of the things we were asked to do in that class was find somebody that we really love and that we admire or that we're friends with or that we think has a really cool way of performing. We were asked to record them and then get their mannerisms right. So basically like act them out, not as like being an actor or an actress, but as being able to embody someone else's behavioral choices. And a lot of us picked people that we admired. So best friends, family members, people that we watched with almost a sense of awe. And so continuing in that, and actually that whole idea, that whole branch of academia is like a job. Like people get PhDs in communication performance and teach it at colleges. It's a whole thing. And so to me, when I saw him, I was like, that's what he's doing. He's in love with this identity. He's in love with this projection. He loves watching it. And he is acting it out. He's trying to embody it. It just goes back to the whole saying, imitation is the highest point of flattery. And so I think any of those girls that if they come across those TikToks, like be flattered, you are taking people to this safe space. They may not know it. They may think they're satirizing it. But I mean, it is so different from what we're getting on the news every night, from the gloom and doom and rising corona cases and this and that. And this part of the world's on fire. And this part of the world's flooding. In one part of the world, we just want to know what McKenna Grace is doing for her OOTD. That's all we want to know. And I love it. And so if you have not checked out Alabama RushTok and you've got the stomach for it and you think that it would be fun for you, definitely check it out. All right, so this is my second episode of Very Necessary. I will be back next week with some more content, but I did want to get a video out this week and I thought, why not talk about topics that were interesting to me? As always, thank you for supporting my content, and I will see you guys very soon. Thanks for watching.